years after Po's victory over Kai, a new threat emerges in the Valley of Peace. Not a physical enemy, but a creeping spiritual corruption that drains chi and leaves its victims as empty husks, forcing Po to confront a terrifying question. What happens when the balance between good and evil is not broken, but inverted, and the very source of life becomes a source of unending horror? The Valley of Peace was, as always, a picture of serene beauty. The sun shone brightly on the Jade Palace, the wind rustled through the peach trees of wisdom, and the sounds of training echoed from the courtyard. But beneath the surface, a subtle unease had begun to creep in. It started with the villagers. They became listless, apathetic, their usual vibrant energy replaced by a chilling emptiness. They moved slowly, their eyes vacant, their smiles forced, as if the very life force had been drained from them. Then, the animals began to disappear. Not just pandas or rabbits, the usual praise. All animals. One by one, they vanished without a trace, leaving behind only an unnerving silence and a lingering sense of emptiness. Po, the dragon warrior, now a seasoned master of Kung Fu and Chi, sensed the disturbance. He felt a growing void within the valley, a spiritual vacuum that chilled him to the bone. It was unlike anything he had ever encountered. Not a physical threat, not a malevolent presence, but an absence, a draining of life, of energy, of chi itself. He consulted with Shifu, his wise mentor, but even Shifu was baffled. He had never encountered anything like this before. The ancient texts spoke of balance, of yin and yang, of the flow of chi, but they offered no explanation for this creeping emptiness, this spiritual decay. The Furious Five, tigress, monkey, mantis, viper, and crane felt it too. Their own chi, their inner strength, seemed to weaken with each passing day. Their movements became sluggish, their spirits dampened, their usual camaraderie replaced by a growing sense of unease and suspicion. They began to investigate, searching for a cause, a source, a villain to fight. But there was nothing to be found. No tracks, no clues, no signs of any external force. The emptiness was simply there, spreading like a disease, consuming everything in its path. Then, Po had a vision. During his meditation, he saw a distorted image of the Valley of Peace. But it was not the valley he knew. It was a wasteland, a barren, lifeless landscape, devoid of all color, all energy, all chi. And in the center of this desolate landscape, he saw a figure. It was a panda, but not like any panda he had ever seen. It was emaciated, its fur matted and gray, its eyes hollow sockets filled with a chilling, empty void. It was a husk, a shell, a being devoid of all life, of all spirit. And it was familiar. It was Po, or rather, a twisted, corrupted version of himself, a reflection of what he could become if the emptiness consumed him. The vision ended, leaving Po shaken to his core. He realized that the threat was not external, but internal. It was not a villain to be defeated, but a force to be understood, a balance to be restored. He delved deeper into the ancient teachings, seeking answers in the wisdom of Oogway, in the secrets of Chi, in the very essence of Kung Fu. He meditated for days, pushing his mind and spirit to their limits, searching for a solution. And then he discovered the truth, a horrifying truth that shattered his understanding of the universe, of Chi, of everything he believed in. He discovered that Chi, the life force that flowed through all living things, was not infinite. It was finite, limited, and it could be drained, not just weakened, not just corrupted, but completely and utterly consumed. He learned of an ancient, forgotten practice, a forbidden form of Kung Fu known as the Empty Paw. It was a technique that did not harness Chi, but absorbed it, draining it from others, leaving them as empty husks, feeding the user's own power, but at a terrible cost. The Empty Paw was not just a fighting style, it was a spiritual perversion, a corruption of the very essence of life. It was the antithesis of everything Poe stood for, everything he had learned, everything he believed in, and it was spreading. The villagers, the animals, they were not just losing their chi, they were being drained, their life force consumed by something or someone. The Poe he saw within his vision was not a future, but a present, a horrifying reality that was slowly unfolding. The final confrontation took place in the Jade Palace, the heart of the Valley of Peace, the symbol of balance and harmony. Poe, weakened but determined, faced the source of the emptiness, the practitioner of the Empty Paw. It was not a new villain, not an external threat, but someone he knew, someone he trusted. It was Shifu, his master, his mentor, the one who had taught him everything he knew, had become corrupted, seduced by the power of the Empty Paw, driven mad by a desperate desire to protect the valley, to preserve its peace, by any means necessary. Shifu, in his twisted wisdom, had believed that the only way to achieve true peace was to eliminate all conflict, all struggle, all life. He had sought to create a world of perfect stillness, of utter emptiness, by draining the chi from all living things. The battle was not a physical one, but a spiritual one, a clash between two opposing philosophies, between the flow of chi and the void of the Empty Paw. Poe, drawing on his own inner strength, on his belief in balance, on his connection to the dragon warrior spirit, fought back, not with fists or kicks, but with the very essence of his being. He channeled his chi, not to attack, but to heal, to restore the balance, to fill the void, to remind Shifu of the true meaning of Kung Fu, of the beauty of life, of the importance of struggle, of the necessity of conflict. In the end, it was not Poe's power, but his compassion, his empathy, his unwavering belief in the good within others that saved the day. He reached out to Shifu, not as an enemy, but as a friend, as a student, as a son. He reminded Shifu of his own teachings, of the importance of balance, of the beauty of imperfection, of the value of life in all its messy, chaotic glory. Shifu, his mind momentarily cleared of the corrupting influence of the Empty Paw, saw the horror of what he had become, of what he had done. He saw the emptiness he had created, the suffering he had caused, and he was filled with remorse, with regret, with a profound sense of shame. With a final, agonizing effort, Shifu shattered the source of his power, a small, unassuming jade statue that had been hidden within the Jade Palace, a relic of the ancient, forgotten practice of the Empty Paw. The emptiness receded. The chi began to flow again. The valley slowly, painfully, began to heal. But the scars remained, a constant reminder of the terrifying potential of unchecked power, of the seductive allure of the void, of the fragility of balance. The story ends with Poe standing alone in the Jade Palace, looking out over the recovering valley. He had saved his home, his friends, his world, but he had also lost something. He had lost his innocence, his naivete, his unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of the universe. He knew that the darkness was always there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting for an opportunity to rise again. He was a master of Kung Fu, and he was ready. He has to be, for the Empty Paw may return. The balance was restored for now, but the void is always waiting.